to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, roll please.
Comment? He needs to be excused, he's sick and can't be here tonight.
Oh, we'll get there.
Oh.
There you go.
Thank you.
Vincent?
Here.
Perry?
Here. Silver?
Here.
Klein?
Here.
Cooper.
I'll make a motion to excuse Mr. Comet this evening.
Second it.
Thank you. If you'll call roll on that, please.
Bilski?
Yes.
Vincent?
Yes.
Perry? Yes. Silver?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Duber?
Yes. I'll make a motion to confirm the appointment of Rick LeConte as acting chief building official and building inspector for Orange Village.
Oh, that the C
Oh, wait a minute.
capitalized in his name.
What? What? Second?
That's what I said. Yeah, should not.
Did what?
We have it on official notice now that the correct spelling of his name is L-O small c, not large c. C-I.
Oh.
Correction.
Did you second?
I did.
Well, thank you.
I'm happy to do that.
Anybody, we discussed this before. Does anybody have anything else on this?
Mentioned last week or last month, whenever it is, that we have a week in March when we don't have either our main building commissioner or the backup, so we have to have him for 1 week. But
He's been here before.
Bob stay here all night so he could answer any questions, so think of one at least.
Why couldn't Rick come and talk for himself? Why could,
We didn't make him.
there's my question.
We don't want to pay him to come in and,
Okay.
Yes.
Vincent?
Yes.
Perry? Silver? Yes. Klein?
Yes.
Yes.
okay, tell him he has to come in to be sworn in. You can go.
Thank you.
You're dismissed.
Thanks for the tour.
It was a great tour tonight. I appreciate it.
Ever seen Next Door, Brandon?
Huh?
Have you seen Next Door yet? Did I take you?
I'll make a motion to authorize expenditure not to exceed $18,946 to BNC Communications for the purchase of a radio dispatch console, which was reimbursed in 2018 from the insurance claim for the lightning strike.
I'll second it.
Steve said we had to come for approval because it's over 15,000, but we got this was from a lightning strike. We already got the insurance proceeds. We've already replaced the equipment. So please approve the payment.
What if we don't? Because it was.
I don't know.
I do have a question. So I saw that the check was for 36,000. What happens with the difference in the amount?
Second page. It's in their handout.
Is there another part of it?
There were more items on that,
For the insurance.
For the insurance.
paid more.
This?
Paid things other than just that item. Would that be a correct statement?
That's a correct statement.
Do we have the list of what the other items were that were paid under this check? I think that's what's being asked.
This was the replacement for the, well, I have 18,946, but for Christine's, yeah, what else was bought? Why did the insurance give us 30,000?
6.
Right, there was a lot of stuff.
You know what, Zugin's in there. Zugin would know where every penny went.
What happened was there were other bills that were paid through other companies. It wasn't just BNC, but for some reason that one got skipped by finance, and that's why BNC been calling us about it. But we didn't pay it. We were thinking that the insurance company was going to pay it. The insurance company sent us a check, and we were supposed to pay it. So it was a combination of many items. I probably have the email. I can send it to you.
Just so there isn't an overage from the check. That's already been, all the other items have already been paid out of it.
Other items were itemized. Those were paid off.
We had all kinds of other items that happened. We had stuff with HVAC problems that they're addressed, so total amount.
36 was the total for everything that we received.
That was a handbag of all kinds of problems.
To a variety of vendors, none of which were over 15,000, which is what triggers
Except for this.
council's need to authorize it. And this is, in this circumstance, is really kind of ratification. Shouldn't be much of an issue.
So this is the last item we'll see that relates to this check,
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't see any of the items
because they're under the amount.
under 15,000.
Thank you.
We've been seeing this one.
Thank you.
Make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? If you call roll, please.
Bilski,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Harry, Silver, Klein, Duber.
Yes, I'll make a motion to authorize the expenditure not to exceed $41,901.72 to Chagrin Valley Dispatch for the replacement of 6 mobile data terminals for the police vehicles. Thank you.
These have to be replaced because Lee's will no longer support the operating system we have in our old ones, which are what, 6 years old? And these were considered and budgeted for in this year.
Chief, what do you do with the old ones?
We have utilized them at other times within the village. I don't know if they're earmarked for anybody or anything right now. But because they only have Windows 6, Windows 7 or something, one of the older operating systems, so you're limited on the types of things you can do with it.
If this price contemplates a trade-in, then we'll have to ask Nick. Maybe we'll be back to surplus them, I don't know.
It seemed that there would be some use for them somewhere, you know. I understand they're old, but you could, you know, there are probably communities that would take advantage of having even an old one as opposed to none.
Yeah, well, if we decide to surplus them, we'll look for one of those.
I was going to say, you'd have to wipe the data clean, which is probably,
The Leeds information, it doesn't sit resident on the computer,
Leeds information is very not allowed to be public, or
but it's not resident in the computer, is it?
everything is. Throw your computer in the lake, Mayor. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Things stay on computers even though people think they don't. And so, stuff like that, there's going to always be something that could be found. Make sense? Chief, agree? Absolutely. Good talk. Any other comments? All right, let's call roll, please.
Bilski,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
yes, Silver,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. Dana has a case of the sniffles, actually worse than that, but she has pneumonia. But so anyways, we're gonna skip the treasury report, tax administrator's report until she's back. So Anna, if you can just put that on the next agenda, that would be swell.
I could explain a little bit.
Do you want to? I just figured we might as well do the.
Do it next month.
I mean, if you want to explain it, we can do it. But I just figured with the
Everything at the end of the year is really on target. Our revenues came in a little bit above 100%, and our expenditures came in under. We exceeded our expectations because of contracts this year. It's doing very well, so that's the bottom line.
I have a really quick chart question, and it can wait till next time, but on the tax revenues, I noticed, I don't know if it means anything or not, but I noticed that the last column, the 2019, is blue.
Oh, yeah, the color slipped, she has
That is fine.
Okay. Doesn't mean anything.
colors.
The graph, when she adds a year, the colors don't move down.
I just printed it in
We're going to correct it for,
Is the purple, green, orange, blue. Should be green. I just didn't know if it meant anything.
this tonight. Want to do this when Dana's back?
Well, insofar as it's for the entire year, I think it would be helpful to have at least her report it.
So if we can stick with plan, and just do that.
Is there anything you need from it to make things happen in the course of the next, okay.
Won't hold up anything.
Moving on to discussion of bills to be paid in the month of February in the amount of $119,198.76, and additional January expenses in the amount of $111,323.84. Does anybody have any comments on the bills? Questions? Or concerns?
I think the only question that I had, and it kind of came up earlier today, but on the refund to Chagrin Highlands South for that's their deposit?
Not the whole amount because we withheld that for what we're still trying to let the county.
Do the Drury and BJ's, do they have separate, okay. So this is mainly,
And they didn't want anything more to do with it.
okay, so this is just for the improvements that they've done. Okay, thanks.
Other questions on bills? All right. Audience comments, and old business, and new business, and audience comments, and committee reports and comments by council members.
Well, our long-awaited Kimball tour has been arranged gratefully by Anna, and I invite you all to try to attend if possible. It's probably one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do as a council person, is to visit the recycling facility, and with all of the upcoming
As much fun as burning down houses at Pinecrest.
I think we're going to see in our next contract. I know I've fielded a bunch of questions. I don't get a lot of questions from constituents, but I have fielded several about what's going on with the recycling industry. So it's a great opportunity to hear from the recycler why they're not able to recycle everything that our residents would like recycled. So it's March 4th at 2 o'clock, I think, and it's going to try to see if people want carpool from here or meet there. We're supposed to be there at 2 o'clock, correct? Yes. So carpooling thing would happen earlier.
How long do you expect the whole thing to last?
Last time I was there, probably an hour or two. It depends how many are other communities invited, because when I went, there were hundreds of people.
Oh, no, just us.
Anybody signed up? Any residents?
10 so far. Yes, just us.
It depends how many people ask questions.
Way too much familiarity with MRFs.
Any other questions on that? On anything else, Mrs. Perry? Silver.
Anything?
All right, Mr. Bilski.
I have nothing.
Fine.
No committee reports, other than the fact that I know that everyone received information on the vaping, and I'd like to, at some point, perhaps indulge in a conversation as to where we might want to go with that.
Would you like to do that?
In March? Thank you.
What we can do, maybe, why don't we put a agenda item on there for discussion of that issue? Good? All right.
Sorry to slow the pace of this down a bit, but I do have a couple things. First of all, thank you to Mr. Silver for orchestrating the water issue at Orange Hill. So if you're not aware of this, there's been an issue with water pressure. So we put together a letter for residents to ask if they've been having issues, so we can look into that and see where it's coming from, if it's one or two, or if it's a big group of people. So thank you for coordinating that. I want to thank all for the building tours, all who are still here. I'm in awe of all that you do. I just am in awe of it. And I am especially in awe after we had one of our residents call me upset about a week ago because their road hadn't been plowed. And I sent an email to the mayor and Mr. Zukin, and within 22 minutes, I got back an email from the person saying, "Oh my God, you rock. I can't believe that you got this done so quickly." So I'm going to throw credit to them because they just did an amazing job getting that all cleared up. So thank you for that.
In response to your email, that was how it was going to happen anyway.
Right, but
But take
they were very impressed by how fast things turned, so that was awesome. I had an incident again today. If you were in the building, you probably heard my horn blaring on the Jackson Lander Road, and it's not something to revisit now, but and I know there are issues with the double stop signs being too close together or whatever, but people who stop at Jackson Road coming westbound, and Lander doesn't have a stop sign going, and she stopped and then she went. And if it had been snowing earlier today, or if I hadn't been going way under the speed limit, it would have been an accident, because she just went. So I know it's happened a couple of times, so that's something like I want to put like somewhere in our radar.
And you can talk to him.
Yeah, so. There was a school board meeting earlier this week. We got another ed rec update. Just a reminder that if you are not planning to vote here in person on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, please get your absentee ballots. The ed rec renewal is a huge issue for them, and ask that you have your residents support it. It's just a renewal. There's no increase involved, but it's very important that people get out to vote. And some people think since it's a primary, they're not going to get as much turnout, but please get people to vote for that. There is a Costa Rica immersion trip coming up in March of 2021 through the schools, and I didn't know if there's any kind of, do we have a sister city anywhere? Something maybe to think about down the line is sending something Orange Village-ish with them as they go, and maybe doing some kind of cross-cultural exchange. I thought would be nice. They gave us an update on the 21st century curriculum and recommendations for new books, and more discussion of the new entryway at the high school. I'm going to begin working in the month ahead of this Council of Councils to have a representative, and I have volunteered to be the representative from this council. If you have thoughts on other councils in the area that you think somebody would be really great to be a part of that, just let me know and I'll reach out to them as well. And last time I brought up the mock trial team going to regionals, that we had a couple Orange residents, and 2 of those Orange residents are now going to states, and they're freshmen this year, which is phenomenal that we have a team going to states. So go Marissa Goldschmidt and Jenna Friedman. Very impressive. Last thing I have is the Orange Foundation fundraisers coming up. The Wild for Orange this year is at the Monsters game, and they're looking for donations of experiences. So if you want to offer to be mayor for a day.
I did that once. It raised $175.
That's awesome. So
Police did that at Fuchs Mizrachi, and they raised $3,000.
So if you're interested in doing it again for our public school system, Orange Foundation, all the grants benefit the schools directly. So, or if anybody has a job that they do and want to offer any kind of experience for students, those always bring in a lot of money. So thank you.
For up councilperson for the year?
Okay. Shall I note that for the record?
Seat?
Thank you.
Thanks. Mayor, comments?
The only thing I want to know is how to proceed with Orangewood. We're going to discuss this
We
week.
are.
Huh?
You're staring at me.
You're the leader.
So I had a question for you. You had said last week the cost was a guesstimate, not really exact. What would it take to pin down that cost?
Wait till the whole project was over and done with, and done all the accounting and
Not to mention developing the engineering.
You have to do quantities and stuff like that, and certainly, whether we're going to continue on that.
I don't think you want to do that.
I guess I'm obviously in favor of this, and I know most of the residents in the community who've talked to me are in favor of this, but I don't know how we can talk about doing something and bring in Orangewood residents without knowing what the costs would be.
That's why I say you have to be willing to spend up to $400,000 of our
I'm
money.
saying, but are there assurances that would be enough?
Oh, the estimate is about $450 to $500, and the engineer's pretty good at estimating. We can ask him how accurate that is. He's pretty good. I mean, that Miles Road Culvert project is really the only one that he's been off.
Let me ask you this, though. Unlike Lander, Miles, all the major roads, with sprinkler systems and those kinds of things that are prevalent in Orangewood.
Yeah, that's not in the estimate.
Right, so that's why I'm worried what the overruns could be.
Well, we don't have to fix those if you want us to.
I don't,
Yeah, if we put, if you put the sprinkler in the right of way.
that you're gonna go ahead and put a piece of cement is not so necessarily front yard, and then if the village doesn't also fix, and then you leave them with a sprinkler system that's out of whack, I think there's even gonna be more.
Well,
I think those are all things that we should think about and consider, in my personal opinion, which is why my 2 cents is that we have the residents come in, we discuss with them to see if it's even something that we're kind of convinced, I guess, that is in the best interest of all residents, and then I think we have to look at it from the financial aspect. You know, when we originally were discussing this, most of it, if not all of it, was going to be done with leftover money. And now now the discussion is that it could be $500,000. And I think that, while I think a lot of people are probably in favor of this, and you still do obviously have to talk to the residents about this, who it's going to affect, I think there's a very different position that we're potentially in today than we were when this initially came up for discussion. And so I hesitate to say that I'm comfortable spending $500 million of full taxpayer money to do, you know, a trail that affects, you know, a decent amount of residents, but, you know, not the entire village. Again, I'm not saying I'm against it at all. It's just I have a very different feeling on it when it's $500,000 of village money as opposed to leftover money that was essentially free, that was given to us from
That's why I'm
Pinecrest.
asking you to identify, if this board tells me we're not willing to spend $1
dollar of our own money on this.
I don't,
there's no point to have.
but I know that I know that I personally can't make that decision without hearing from the residents.
Well, you want to hear them all come in and clamor that they want it and then turn around and tell them, but we're not going to spend the money?
I mean, this isn't like a secret at this point that this is a discussion. I mean, I don't know if any residents think, I hope no residents have been promised that this is happening, and I don't, you know, I think most residents in Orangewood are under the assumption or understanding that this could happen. So I think by bringing people in, you're not gonna get people's hopes up. It's a discussion to see if this is, you know, to get the community's opinions. The same as we did for the trails before we, you know.
I know. I just happen to think that if you know you're not prepared to spend the money, there's no point to talk about it with everybody.
Well, then I think if that's the way you want to handle it, then I think that we have to wait until we see what the costs are, and if it means we have to bid it out differently, at the end of the day, it's gonna cost us a couple more bucks, but we're gonna know the full dollar amount of it, then maybe that's how we have to do it. These other parts aren't even done yet. I mean, Miles Road's not done yet, and, you know, I know there's some challenging spots there, and I just hesitate to go ahead and bring residents in, you know, for us to say, yeah, I'm willing to commit that, and then we bring residents in, and we're like, okay, for $500,000, yeah, we'd probably be okay with it, and then Miles costs a little bit more, and next thing you know, it's gonna be, you know, $600,000, and then we have to fix sprinklers and all that, and this can snowball.
Is it something that, I mean, are you just looking for a consensus that says we're not willing to spend the money? In other words, we're not committing to spend it, you know, we have to see where everything goes?
Mayor wants us to say that if the residents are in favor of it, and if we're compelled that it's a good idea, that we would go ahead and spend the money. That we're willing to spend Orange Village money.
No, you're not going to. If you were to say to me, no, we're not going to, then there's no point.
Nobody is opposed to it on the surface. I think we just want to learn more information about it.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that there's a,
Your hand. I'm sorry, Mr. Klein.
Thank you. I totally agree, but I also feel like I need 2 more pieces of information. One is I'd like to see the infrastructure 5, 10-year priorities that we have already spelled out that we were going to tap into. And the second thing is a more detailed estimate of what it would cost.
Well,
And
it wouldn't be more detailed, because he's not going to draw up the plans and go to bid.
But, so Lisa makes a good point, though, in that I think it would be wise for council to see, you know, you always talk about this, Mayor, that we have the list of the needs the wants and the dreams or whatever. I think we should see what those, I think everybody on council should see what those things are, because I think that would also help prioritize, is that $500,000 better off spent there or on some other project?
I also think doing our due diligence and studying this a little bit more in depth, even if it costs us a little bit more if we miss the tacking it on to the end of whatever jobs that they're finishing. I think it will be worth it in the long run instead of making a hasty decision.
Okay, we'll do a little more preparation, get this information together.
2 points. Number one, there's, other than a desire on the part of the homeowners association in Orangewood to have this extension through the development, there's nothing that is driving this that it needs to be done right away, other than the fact that we would like to connect it with the other work. They come off of what they're doing, move on to the next. And from the standpoint of pricing, we do have, as I recall, Bob, quantity
Pricing, yeah.
unit pricing for additional work. So it's just a matter of kind of delineating how much trail there would be between points. And that's not all that hard to figure out, I'm sure.
I think the only thing that's.
So they could give a better estimate from that.
The only reason it matters, we don't have to do it, we can do it as a completely independent, separate project. But the only thing that does matter is because I think which side of the street we were doing the turn-in depended on whether we were doing it.
Well, we were turning on the original base bid of coming in, we were not performing those until we figure out what's going
No, I don't think you understood what I meant.
But
Which side of of Orangewood are we coming into Orangewood if we, let's say we aren't doing Orangewood at all?
the intention is to run the south side because there's going to be less homes that are gonna be,
So are we going to put the Lander Road leg and the Harvard leg so that they turn into Orangewood on the side of the street that we would put their sidewalk on?
the engineer would need to look at that because of the way the grade is.
Was the other side?
Yes, originally, it was coming in on the north side because of the grade.
So if we're doing Orangewood, we're going to change the side.
Yeah, south side of the Lander and Orangewood intersection is a pretty steep grade that comes up there, so.
That's the only
There's a lot of cut that would have to be done there. But what was the plan for the Harvard intersection?
That was,
Which side?
and,
I think on the west side, we're going to switch it to the east side.
yes, I believe it was west.
Because the east side has the,
Yes, because there's a wider home HOA property, I think, on the western boundary,
yeah.
where the storms.
We would have to be on the east side if we know we're going to do Orangewood.
And
The only
south side
problem-
being because there's gonna be less driveway replacements. I mean, there's been conversation already too about you have less driveways, and unlike other areas which require grade changes and stuff, we pretty much needed to do a lot of the driveway roads. Orangewood's flat. I mean, we certainly can take a look at that and butt it up to the existing driveway aprons. There's opportunity there, but I think we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit. We don't have enough knowledge out there for what the remaining project is gonna entail and what we're actually spending on, contingency money that's made.
So much for 10 minutes. Well, the south side of Orangewood at Lander has an identity sign that's in there that's stone and a major concrete base underneath it. And the same thing with on the east side of Orangewood at Harvard. Both of those would be expensive to maneuver around or to build, to remove.
The amount of driveway aprons on the north side, especially from the Lander going all the way down, your first intersection is gonna be to Beachmonds. A number of homes, where if on the south side, you go along East Meadow, West Meadow, you're talking about side property.
There's a lot of detail that could be talked, and I can foresee a number of different options for this thing to happen where you could avoid some of those challenges. I think that detail would probably be best spent talking at a later date when we're more able to discuss what and when we might do this project.
And maybe, and I discussed this with Scott the other day, that maybe we look at what it would cost to go down both sides. If we're going to do it, maybe we do it properly, and instead of just having a sidewalk on one side of Orangewood. I mean, I think it's going to get some use, so one side might be, if it's just on one side, my concern is that it's going to be congested and crowded, but it's just the sidewalks. It's gonna be smaller than the trails that are,
I think we have that kind of urban density.
I think,
And
I'm
Halloween.
not saying it's urban density necessarily, but I think when you're talking about, especially in the summer, kids riding bikes and stuff like that, I mean, their parents are, if there's that there, they're going to want them to stay on the
And the sidewalk.
part, and there's, it's not huge. But again, I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but I think that hearing from the residents to see, there might be so many that say no, that
I think
that's going to happen, but I think we still need to hear from everyone.
there was definitely some resistance from the people on Orangewood. Everybody else that I heard from was in favor of it, but to Brandon's point, I think it would be a good idea, because we told them that we were going to do it this spring. I would still
Have the meeting.
have the meeting, get the consensus.
I think it's okay to have the meeting with the understanding, as we have these meetings, that we're not committing to doing it or committing not to doing it. We just want to hear from the residents where they are on it.
I have another suggestion. They're going to have,
They have a meeting, and we won't spend the money.
they're going to have their annual meeting here in this chamber, in these chambers in April.
Okay.
I don't know if we can have that discussion then.
Yeah, because
It'd
they
be-
always invite me.
Right, but I mean, that might be an opportunity to invite other members of council who don't live in Orangewood and see if we can get a consensus.
I don't think we can hijack their annual meeting.
It's not hijacking,
I
but
think we want to do that because,
Should be open to everybody, no?
I don't know.
All right, we don't have to decide tonight, we've bought time.
one other question for you, Mayor. You were talking about, we're talking about the priorities, and Lisa, I think that's a great point, the capital budget ideas the next 5 to 10 years. I'm assuming more of that's going to be fleshed out with the survey, too.
For the infrastructure levy fund.
Okay.
It's where we were going to take the money, right?
Will those be items in the survey if our residents come up with a wish list that would come out of that same fund, potentially? That would only be operating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Depends on what it is.
Any other comments?
I do not have any.
Call roll, please.
Bilski?
Yes.
Vincent?
Yes.
Harry? Silver?
Yes.
Yes.
Huber?